Hi, it's Justin Prime. There's more changes in store for the podcast so I can direct more time toward Astropig. Welcome to episode 14. Hey again, everybody. Who am I talking to today? Mike Merritt, the last person on my Instagram feed. Hi, Mike. Thank you for being an active follower. Mike is a indie creator as well. Looks like bunch of artwork on his page, fan art. He's working on a Thing versus Hulk boxing match. It looks like that's kind of cool. And reading a little bit, looks like he might be a teacher or something, teaching art. Hopefully, I got that right. Yeah, thanks, Mike. This episode is dedicated to you, my friend. All right. Yeah, sorry, I was reading his bio. It says, "Stay gold and just draw." All right, so we got some changes. A couple announcements though before we get rolling here. I did an interview with uh, oh my god, what's his last? Ian Walker. I did an interview with Ian Walker. He did an artist inventory challenge with me. He might have been one of the first four. So go back in the podcast. You can listen to my AIC with him that he did. That was a lot of fun. That was actually a really good talk. Um, and he has a podcast, a couple of them. One of them is called The Stuff, which is a general variety kind of thing. And he did his first interview with anyone, and he chose me, and he asked me to do it, and we had a lot of fun. I think it was a great talk, and he allowed me to talk about the podcast and about Astropig and kind of my mindset, my what I want out of Astropig and who it's for and whatnot. So it was cool. It was a really good talk. Please check out the Stuff podcast. Um, if you have anchors, it should be easy to find. But I know it's easy. It's available on iTunes as well. So yeah, the Stuff podcast. He also has another podcast called the Rising Legends podcast about his tabletop game that he's developing, which I've listened. Actually, I've listened to all the episodes. It's very entertaining, even though I know nothing about that stuff. It's just kind of cool to hear about. Which is ironic because it's not cool at all. It's like the definition of nerdy, but it is what it is, right? Love you and thank you for the interview, man. Tons of fun. All right, so for today, oh, that's the first announcement. I gotta do better at following my outline. Sorry, guys. So I was on the interview. I did an interview with the Stuff podcast with Ian Walker. The other one is just a reminder that June Tune is coming up. This is something that Harold George, it's at Harold Artist. He and a few others are pushing and promoting this. They want to start something called June Tune. This is where you draw a cartoon or your favorite cartoon character every day for the month of June. He's released an official prompt list as well. I was hoping it was going to be a prompt list of like per character per day, like Optimus Prime on day one, and then somebody from Silverhawks on day two or something like that. But he said no. He was talking to somebody else, and he said no because everyone does different cartoons. They don't want to limit you to who they wanted, and that made sense. So they had more of a general prompt list. I would like to get a few of these in during the month of June just to show support. Because I really appreciate everything Harold's done for my podcast, the Discord community, and he's just a good person. So please participate in June Tune. It's hashtag June Tune or hashtag June Tune 2018. Hopefully I got that right. And those are my two announcements. So usually I do a topic commentary at this point. I don't think I'm going to be doing that anymore. I want this weekly podcast to really be focused more on my weekly assessment of myself and not about dialogue or not dialogue, but a monologue about what I think about something. That stuff will come up as I talk, anyways. So there's not a whole lot of point in setting aside time for that. But what I will be doing, my plan at least, is that I will be doing I'll call it a blogcast. I've started a blog on my website. There's only a couple entries. I won't be adding into it too often. It's not something I want to put a ton of time into since the podcast and AstroPig are my main sources of time and energy right now, outside of family and work. But when I do write something in the blog, which is harder than I thought it'd be, I would like to read that for the podcast. That way you can hear it if you want to hear it. And those of you that prefer to read it, you could read it. So rather than doing a topic during these weekly episodes, I'll have a whole separate episode dedicated to reading off the blog post or the blog entry. It'll be a blogcast. So I think the topic commentary is dead as of right now, and I want to focus on my weekly assessment. And that'll make these episodes shorter as well. My episode, dude, my interviews, and so first off, the weekly things have gone for at least 45 minutes each. And I can't remember the last time I went under that, but typically they're like 45 minutes each. That's just the weekly one. And then the interviews have each been going like an hour and a half, at least an hour. And then lately, like John Samariva, he gave me 2 hours, which I had to split up into two episodes. You guys knew that already. And I know you've listened to them and they're just super happy with the way that went. But I did a talk with someone. Actually, did two talks last week that both went at least an hour and a half. It's a lot of time, and I think it's really good material, but it's a lot of time. So if I can get these down more narrowed and help people, because I know some people have written me saying that they binge listen, which is like crazy to me, but I love that and I appreciate that you guys are doing that. But if I can get these weekly ones down to maybe 30 minutes, I think that binge kind of thing will be easy, and then you can listen to my development uh, on these projects in shorter increments of time, obviously. So that's what's happening with the topic commentary. It's pretty much dead for now and being replaced with a blogcast. But I have no schedule for that. It's just basically as I write them. So don't hold your breath on that. My major. All right, so let's move on. Let's get into the artist inventory challenge that I give to myself each week. My major goals are to eventually do more mentorship. Right now, I'm working with Brendan. That's at Metcalf Illustrations, Brendan Metcalf, and seeing him develop has been tremendous. At this point, he's kind of inspiring me now. He's doing some really good stuff on a personal level, on his social and his Instagram, but also artistically, he's doing some pretty damn cool stuff. So I feel like I want to continue to do some mentorship. My time with Brendan is running down, and I'd like to pick that up with somebody else, but I don't know how to go about doing that. Um, and it really has to be a good fit, I don't know, and I don't know who that person would be or how to work that out. But so bigger goal of mine. Point being, bigger goal of mine. I would like to do some ongoing mentorship with somebody, and I would love to be able to record it just like I'm doing with Brendan because I think it's really valuable that people see that entire process of development. Like you can literally see Brendan developing through our talks, and then check in on his Instagram, and it's you can see him growing. It's pretty amazing, I think. My other goal is community building, and that's happening. We'll talk about that, but those are my major goals: mentorship and community building. My projects are AstroPig, and the other project is community building. That would be the podcast now blog, and the Discord community. Those are my main sources of community building right now, outside of just my general Instagram stuff. I don't know why I dismissed that. No, I'm doing a lot of really good community building stuff on Instagram, in my opinion. So, but the podcast is a big part of it, big part of it, and I hope the blog will become that as well. But I know I'm not going to put the amount of love into that as I do the podcast. So it's just more of like, if you can't get enough of me out of the podcast, there's the blog as well. All right, so the obstacles, the next part of the artist inventory challenge is, of course, the obstacles that I faced. For AstroPig, let's talk about that first. Tuesday through Friday, I was really sick. Actually, I'm sorry. Tuesday, I was ridiculously sick. I went to work. I really shouldn't have, but somehow I made it. I just kind of quarantined myself in an office all day. Um, but that was a struggle. I should not have been at work. It was bad. Stomach issues, hot. Why don't you call them hot flashes? Fever. Probably not hot flashes, but we'll call them that anyways. I had a fever. I was just out. It was like it was hard to stay awake. I definitely should have stayed home that day, but or at least taken some medicine. I didn't even do that until that night. So yeah, Tuesday was horrible, but that continued through Friday on some level here, off and on. The fever stopped on Tuesday, but Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I was like the stomach issues wouldn't go away. Um, and like I'm a therapist. I'll tell you guys, I'm a therapist. So when I'm sitting with the client, they have no idea, but I'm nearly my. Oh, I swore. Dang it! Now I have to edit this. Darn it! So as I was saying, I'm like on the verge of pooping myself as I'm talking with people and listening to them about their life. That's how sick I was. It was bad. And that's exactly why I don't cross my two worlds. And the people who I meet with will never know that I do a podcast because I would not want them to know that. Now I have to edit it. Darn it. Yeah, I should edit it. My night just got longer. Dang. All right. But that line, that joke really would have worked if I could use the bad word version of it. Poop works fine, but you know, swearing it does give like an extra, like like a little punch, to a joke, or whatever you're trying. Really, anything you want to say. If you can add a swear word in there, it really does kind of really just turn it up to 11. But now I have to edit it. I wish I had a soundboard. I wish I had a soundboard. Like adding some fart noises in after I talked about that would have been fantastic. I could do that in editing, but I'm not gonna. But I would love to have a soundboard I could like use right now. Someday. Goals. Hashtag goals. All right, let's get back. Let's get back to the outline here. I'm way off script. So yeah, I was pretty darn sick. It was bad. It was bad, and part of that sickness was I was really really tired. So even when I had little opportunities here and there to do some work, I couldn't stay awake. The time that I get the most work done is either when everyone's asleep or as my son is going to sleep and I'm just hanging out on the beanbag on his floor waiting for him to fall asleep. That's like the golden time for me because Renee, my wife, is either asleep or watching TV in our room. My daughter is just is sleeping in her room or going to bed or whatever. So it's just me and it's just my tablet, and that's the perfect time for me to work. But every night this week, I just fell asleep on his floor because I was just so worn out. That continued for a while. Even that happened even today. He was going down for a nap and he was sitting on my lap, and I fell asleep on the floor there with him on my lap. Yeah, so the tiredness has been a big deal for me. On no, I'm sorry, Thursday and Friday, I had interviews. I had talks with the people, and I wasn't 100%. I was pretty darn tired. They both went fine. It was good. Thursday went fine. I have some things that I'd like to redo on that, but it is what it is. Friday I was feeling a lot better, and that went really really well, I think. But it's I was pretty sick. That was the point. Yeah, tired as hell. Um, Falling asleep. I mean, pretty much if I sat down, I was falling asleep. So it was very very difficult. Other obstacles for Astropig. Uh, this weekend we got a barbecue, and I put it together, and that took a long. Oh, does that count as swearing? That took a long time. I gotta watch it. Jeez, I gotta watch it. And I should have written down a timestamp so it'd be easier in editing, which I didn't do. Hold on, give me a second. All right. Building the barbecue took quite a while, and building a barbecue when you have a 2-year-old is a very, very difficult thing, very frustrating. Besides that, other obstacles. I hate to call this an obstacle, but it kind of is. Family time is not an obstacle, not an obstacle. But when you're on a holiday weekend, this is Memorial Day weekend. When you're on a holiday weekend, there's more family time, and at some point, it's kind of like, this is an obstacle. I got to do my work. But it is what it is. So there was just extra family time. The other things were for the podcast. There were probably the interviews. I had two interviews last week, which isn't bad. No, so that's not an obstacle. Scratch that. But I do have to do some light editing. No, actually, I did two interviews plus I talked to Luke. Yeah, so I have to do some light editing still. So I have a few things that are sitting on my desktop that I need to touch up, and that takes away time. That's an obstacle. But it's an obstacle to Astropig, but it's just part of the job for the podcast. Um, so yeah, I'm thinking. I don't know. There's a lot of things I'm thinking about, and I'm wondering if I need to make some changes with the podcast as far as my frequency. Because 3 times a week at like at least 45 minutes each is kind of ridiculous. I mean, I, I don't mind that, and I haven't. No one has had a problem with that. But it does take away from Astropig. So Astropig has faced some obstacles this week. The sickness was the biggest one. That was the biggest one. For community building, this is the holiday weekend. So my daughter, she had today off Monday, Memorial Day. So on Saturday, she and I were playing Minecraft super late. I think I let her stay up to like 12:30, which is just unheard of. But we were doing we were clearing out this mansion that we had found, and that was a lot of fun. So we got to do some teamwork, and I got to teach her some strategies with teamwork, which she hasn't because she hasn't really done that before. She hasn't played like online, communicating with people. So we got to do some teamwork, and she got to cover my back, and stuff like that. It was cool. It was fun. Um, so anyhow, so Saturday we played a lot. That scratched any time I could do with Astropig. And then Sunday we did the same thing. Usually on Sunday she'd be in bed and I'd be doing my podcast or drawing. No, and drawing. Or so that didn't happen because on Monday she had the day off of school. So Sunday she and I were up pretty late again and Minecrafting, which was a ton of fun. Ton of fun. So some extra daddy daughter time. No regrets there. It was actually a lot of fun. It was cool to be able to do that with her. Um, and then yeah, that was it. So a couple obstacles this week. The sickness was the biggest one, and then that the holiday weekend a little bit also. Some successes for AstroPig. I finished another page. This is actually a setback also, or an obstacle, or a fail. I don't know what to call it. But it was only one page, and I mean I know why, because the sickness was the big part of it. But only one page. I need to be able to do more than that in a week. And I know it's not just like penciled, but I do the whole page. But I would really like to see a couple pages a week. I need to get to that point. Some successes or wins for AstroPig. I'm really, really feeling it. I'm loving it. I'm enjoying creating it, and I feel like it's coming together pretty darn well. I feel like it's a strong and will be a strong product to book. So yeah, good things there. I have a good pace. Overall, I have a good. When I am working, I have a good pace. Excuse me. When I am working, I have a good pace going. And when I'm hitting mental obstacles or roadblocks, like if I don't know what to put in a certain place, or if I like, there was a panel today where I didn't know how his ship functioned. So rather than just sitting there and thinking about it, which I caught myself doing, I just went on to something else. So I started doing the bubbles, the speech bubbles, and the text. I just started working on that, and then once it hit me, I finished, with the ship, whatever I was working on. So I've got a good pace going when I am working on it. But I would like to devote more time to Astropig, which I will be talking about later. With community building, huge win was the interview with John Samariva. That was big, big, big win for me. So appreciative of him doing that and giving me 2 hours. That was incredible. And it was a fun talk, like just legitimately interesting and fun for on my end and then for him as well. And I know I talked about this last week, but still, I'm just big win. So I want to just kind of bring that up one more time and then move on and try and do the same thing with other people. Not try, but do. So I'd like to set up some more interviews with some really, really big artist names like that. So that was a big win. I got some really good feedback from people. I'm sorry about the way I ended part one. I'll blame it on the sickness again, but I can't. I didn't know how to end it. I didn't know. All I had to do was throw some music in to end it. So sorry about that because it did just kind of cut off. But yeah. So I got some really good feedback from people. They seemed to really enjoy it. Thank you guys for that. And then from him as well. He gave me some great feedback on it. A bunch of people sent him some direct messages about the interview, and he wrote back to me saying, "Hey, your listeners are awesome. So if you guys DM'd him, thank you so much for doing that." I feel like I got more out of that, and actually, I'm sorry. I feel like we got more out of that than he did. So for you guys to let him know that, and like it's not too late. Let him, DM him, let him know that you listened and that you appreciated his time, please. So for him, I wanted him to know that people listened to it and got something out of it, and I think he got that impression. So that was really cool. Community building successes. Other than that, I have 2 new interviews coming up this week. I'm sorry that I did. I'm sorry, 2 interviews that I did last week. One of them on Friday was from her name is Kirsten. She's from Comic Central. She does a bunch of stuff. It sounds like, but she's like kind of like a marketing person. So she and I talked, I think, way in depth about making your social media more personal. Um, a lot about that, and actually a lot of other stuff too. But she spent like over an hour and a half with me, and we talked about that, and we got something else lined up. So that's gonna drop maybe this week. I don't think it is actually. I think it'll be in 2 weeks. And then I also talked to the duo. Actually, not a duo. It's 2 people from the Champions of Hara comic book slash tabletop game. I talked to a couple of people from there, Walter Barber and Jason Piperberg. Jason's the artist. Walter is the creator of the whole thing, and Jason is the artist of some of the board game, but he does the comic on Comic Central, which is free. Both issues are for free right now. So that was a great talk. It was like an hour and a half, and they talked about the board game and a little bit of Kickstarter and a lot about the comic book. So that's another good one. So that's all wins. Just that's all positive successes for me. I feel like there's a good value, for you guys to listen to. I'm really proud of that. My goals for the week. So the mindset here is I'm realizing like I didn't get enough done on AstroPig this week, and I don't want to. I can't. Yeah, the sickness was a big, big, big part of that. But even if it wasn't, I don't know if I would have gotten as much done as I wanted to. I don't know. I want to be hitting 2 complete pages per week, and I'm not sure I would have hit that. And honestly, the pages I did complete, it was pretty simple. It was 3 panels that were exactly the same, and the text kind of carries the page. But so I don't know if I would have hit 2 complete pages this past week, even if I were 100% well. So I need to make some changes. The first changes that I want to do, I want to start doing 2 interviews per week at most. I've been doing 3, and I want to stick to at most 2. That way, I can dedicate more time to family and AstroPig. Um, so yeah, 2 interviews per week, and I'm really going to structure it and stick to the structure. I mean, it's not I'm willing to be flexible if it's I don't know, Jake Parker wants to talk to me on a Friday, I'll do it. But otherwise, it's going to be like Monday and Wednesday. I'm going to stick to those 2 days. And then Sunday is my weekly thing. So I'm just giving myself more structure, more predictability. And if I don't fill those days, that's fine. I really, really have to be. I have to be, and I want to prioritize Astropeg more. I love the podcast, but I need to be completing pages. Like that is my creative outlet ultimately, and it's what I'm really excited about right now. So I that has to become my priority. So I'm going to devote some more time to that. Um, and I want to keep giving you guys incredible interviews and blogcasts or whatever. I'd like to keep posting 3 times a week, but if it doesn't happen, you'll have to forgive me because that just means I'm working extra hard on Astropig or I'm really sick or something. So Monday, Wednesday, those will be my days. And that gives, weekends are for family. I've been scheduling stuff on Fridays, but Fridays that's a good time for my wife to hang out to my wife and I to hang out. So I'd rather do, Mondays and Wednesdays. Those are days where she's usually in bed pretty early or whatever. So I want to get my priorities in line. Family is a priority. Astropig is the priority over the podcast. It has to be. It has to be. Like it just has to be. At least during the phase where I'm creating it. Once it's done, maybe I can ramp up the podcast more, but I need to complete the darn thing. The other goals that I have for the week and going in the future, blogcast. I want that to replace the commentary for the weekly episode. I want to also. I'm gonna. This is just kind of rough, but I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna eliminate the "Who I Follow" segment of this weekly podcast because one, there's not many people I follow anymore. I believe I'm under 40, and I don't add people very often to who I follow. And honestly, it would be repetitive since the people I follow have been on my podcast. I only follow people in my Discord community or friends of the podcast, the Jprimecast pals. So even if I talk about the people who I follow, you probably already heard them on the podcast in an interview way in depth anyway. So it's very repetitive. That would be very repetitive. For example, I'm doing a artist inventory challenge with Lewis Tillett, and he just joined my Discord community. Happy to have you there. Um, so I follow him now because he's part of the community and he'll be a part of the podcast. So, and he's also a really good artist, but and creator it looks like. Anyhow, it wouldn't make sense. It'd be repetitive to do the artist inventory challenge with him and then do this is who I follow kind of thing. So that's done. And also the people who I follow are the people who follow me anyways. We kind of follow each other for the most part. So these people might pop up in the who follows me segment. So that point being, and again, to reduce the amount of time that you're spending with me each week on this episode or this weekly episode, I am eliminating the who I follow segment. So those are my goals. Those are some thoughts. Those are some changes. Overall, this week went okay, and moving forward, it needs to be better than okay. It has to be better than okay. Specifically with Astropig. The tools I'm using, just real quick. This is a very very fast thing because I'm already almost at the 30-minute mark. Darn it. In Clip Studio Paint, there's a rough pencil. It's a pencil. It's called Rough Pencil. I'm using that one for Astropig. I like that because it has more of a rougher, obviously sketchy kind of pencily look versus something like the dark pencil in Clip Studio Paint specifically. The dark pencil has a kind of a cleaner, almost inky kind of look. It's not as opaque, but the rough pencil gives a nice pencily kind of rough look that I'm going for with Astropig. And the rest of the coloring is pretty darn polished, but I want that sketchy kind of look, so I'm using the rough pencil. If you have Clip Studio Paint, give it a try. It's a pretty fun one to use. All right, so who is following me? This is Grunt 1B Comics. Let me make sure I got that right. Grunt 1B Comics. Grunt 1B Comics. Yeah, I got that right. There's a lot to say about this guy, but I'm not going to because I really want you to go to him and read his posts. His name's Chad Kavanaugh. He is currently doing 5 independent comic series. I'm assuming they're all creator owned, but I'm not sure about that. He's an artist. I think he also writes, and again, not sure about that. But he's doing five. Two of them are complete, and it sounds like he is working on issue two of one right now. It's called Boxcar Justice. I'm trying to look and see what he said about the other ones. I don't know. I lost it in our conversation. Oh, he says, I've been rotating most of the time. Sometimes, like now, I'm doing multiple issues of one series. So, sounds like his system was to kind of rotate. I don't know. I'm not quite sure. But the good news is that he and I will be doing an interview next week. And there's a lot that I want to talk to him about. So, who's following me? Grunt 1B Comics. He has 5 comic series he's doing. He's currently working on issue 2 of Boxcar Justice, which looks really cool. He's got a pretty neat little style. Not little style. He's got a pretty neat style. He has t-shirts he's selling through Teespring, something I'd like to talk to him more about. He's got hats he sells for his brand. He says he makes them at home. I want to hear more about that. He's working at a high level, though. He's got good style, good look to what he's doing. But what I really want to pay attention to and really, really want to talk to him about, besides the businessy kind of stuff, his account, his Instagram account is a very, very, very personal reflection of him. His artwork is there, but it's like you get to know him on a pretty deep level if you just take the time to read his long form post that he'll put with not each image, but some images have a pretty good write up of who he is, stuff like health, his personal history, his love for independent comics, and we even get to see his face, which not a lot of us do. We don't all show our faces; we just stick behind our artwork. But his account is really him and his artwork, and that these two things are one and the same. That you don't get one without the other. So I really want to talk to him more about all that stuff because I know that a lot of us struggle with those things. So yeah, his name again, Grunt 1B Comics, Chad Kavanaugh. Please go and give his stuff a look. He's got over 3,000 followers. He's got a pretty good following, and I'm looking through his stuff, and I don't see any fan art. It's like independent stuff, character design, his panels, his merch. I see zero fan art. That's crazy. So he's doing something right, and I know that those. Oh wow, 4,000 over 4,000 followers. He's at 4,060. Well, 4,061 because I just followed him. Um, and that's all it looks like from on the back of himself and his comic. That's my assumption. That's really, I respect the heck out of that. That's crazy. Uh, so yeah, please check him out. All right, so last week the challenge was to design or redesign a villain from Lab 5 Luke, or Luke Lab 5 Studios. I did this. This was again very tough for me to get to, but I did it right at what was it, at the end of the night on Sunday night. I was awake enough. I was feeling well enough, and I was able to bust out a quick sketch of an old villain that I had done. His name's Rue. Actually, I reposted the Rue images that I did years ago, which got a whole bunch of likes. It's like you can never predict this stuff. It's crazy. And then on Sunday night, I drew Rue doing his like magic ball attack. He surrounds himself in this magic ball. I call it. It wasn't magic, and it would have appeared in Sculptor Stories fourth in issues 4 through 6, but that's not going to happen, obviously. So it's not magic, but that's what I'm calling it. And he just gets in this like ball, and he just tears through whatever's in front of him. So I sketched that out, which was a lot of fun actually, and it was a good change of pace from Astropig. So yeah, I did last week's challenge. That was right at the wire there, but I did it. Let's hear from Luke what the challenge is this week.
Hey, what's up, Jprimecast listeners? Luke here again with this week's Lab 5 Weekly Challenge. So, just today in our Discord community, I was super impressed with the plushie chibi designs by Jason Ryan, which got me thinking. Let's do a stylization weekly challenge. So, if you draw serious, draw your characters or a character in a more cartoony sort of way, like a Disney sort of Sean Galloway style, or if you are drawing in a cartoony style, maybe try drawing serious. Let's mix it up a bit and try and draw a little bit out of our comfort zone and see what we come up with. Sit, have fun.
Luke, thank you for the challenge. I do accept it. I don't know how I'm going to do this. I feel pretty comfortable. I think I might go more realistic. I haven't given that a shot in a very long time, man. Maybe since, I don't know, college, high school. I don't know. I just remembered I didn't edit out the second bad word. Sorry, I'm way off the. I'm all over the place here. So that gives me another chance to take out those fart noises, but I'm gonna leave them in there. So I do accept the challenge, Luke. Thank you. I'll probably go more realistic. We'll see. The JP Weekly freebie. I always mess up on this, huh? The JP Weekly freebie. Each week I get is a pick from ComicCentral.com. I get to see something new, or if you go to ComicCentral.com and go to the free section, it doesn't cost you anything. It's free. You get to see something new, a story, new art, new creators. The pieces there are usually short, but not always. Last week was the White Room, and that was a monster of a free thing. It's like 150 pages. I will be talking to the writer of, I guess, editor as well of the White Room. Very excited about that one. And and so they're free, yeah. So I went to that page on Comic Central this week, and it was down, so I wasn't able to look at as much as I'd like to. So I'm gonna go with Arsenal from Black Fly Press. Black Fly Press is someone who did an artist inventory challenge with me. He's part of my Discord community, so I want to give him a little shout out here. Arsenal issue 1 is really good. It's a compilation of his short stories, of a few different of his. God, I can't talk here. A few different short stories of his characters, jam packed into one issue. I actually like that a lot. I like that model a lot. So it's a great setup. I like that. The characters and the stories are all honestly really interesting, and you can jump in at any time. Each story issue to issue here, because he has issue 2s out right now already for free as well from his website. So you can just jump in on issue 1 or issue 2. Either way, you're good. But yeah, really good stuff. So if you're still listening to this, despite my flubs this week, despite the fart noises, if you're still listening, you definitely belong in the Jprimecast community. It's by invite only, and I don't know who you are, so you have to DM me and let me know that you want to join. I won't say no, as long as you're like, you want to grow and do some art and and connect with other people and be a support to them. You belong. Like that's what we're all about. It's support for beginners. I consider myself a beginner in a lot of ways. So you'll have good company there. But we have a pretty good range of styles, I would say, and experience level. Everyone brings something different to the table. It's great. Excuse me. There's practical advice, there's feedback, there's inspiration, motivation, collaboration, and more. Doesn't cost a darn thing. It's just good times. Thank you so much for listening to episode 14 and for sticking through through all this with me. I will see you. No, you'll hear me next week.